Hello, and welcome to Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. I'm Tracy Friedlander, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. On today's Hot Seat episode, we had saxophone player Isaiah Jackson. Isaiah is currently a student and is wondering what his next moves will be as he begins his career after majoring in music. This was a fantastic episode exploring career options with Isaiah. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you know that a hot seat is an option for you too. You are welcome to come on a hot seat. Contact me through the Crushing Classical Facebook page to get scheduled. Let's get started.
Hey Isaiah, how are you?
Good, ma'am.
Good. Can you talk a little bit louder? I'm just having a little trouble hearing you.
All right, is this better?
Yeah, I think so. You just sound a little bit in the distance.
All right. I'm leaning more forward on my laptop.
Yeah, I know. That's what I have to do too. Tracy always tells me I'm too quiet. I don't know. I don't know that the listeners would agree, but anyway. Okay, cool. So Isaiah, can you tell us about I looked you up on Facebook and everything, but can you tell us about kind of where you are? I know you just graduated, or sorry, I know that you're going to be graduating soon, but I'd just like to know, give us a background of where you are, where you've been, and where you're thinking of going. Just tell us everything, kind of thing.
All right. I am junior, like I'm a junior music education major at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. Um, I I started there in spring of 2015 due to a really bad car accident as opposed to fall 2014. And ever I'm a saxophone major. I really didn't I really didn't know what I wanted to do in music. I just knew that I wanted to do music. I never had I couldn't get private lessons as a kid. I've always been playing in top ensembles in school, but made all district once and things like that. So it was very it was it was it was a very really was a car accident that really made me decide that okay, I really want to do this. I could have just died and not been here.
Yeah.
And ever since I've started school and been pursuing it, I found a lot of success. I'm playing in top ensembles at school, having opportunities to play solos with different ensembles. Frequent soloists in our one ensemble, playing um, instrumental solos at choir concerts, and playing songs that feature saxophone in it too. Even most recently, being able to have the opportunity to play in the pit for our musical theater program production of Droughtley Chaperone, which was so I've been having a lot of opportunities, and I kind of just been going after every single one, but it's kind of just been at every opportunity, not really as focused as really.
Okay.
For example.
Go ahead. You can keep going.
Uh, for example, like if I had because the school is small, I'll have a lot of opportunities to go for different jazz opportunities. In the next moment, I'll try to jump at a classical, or then try to jump at uh, a possible teaching opportunity. It's just I'm kind of going everywhere.
Got it. What do you like better, classical or jazz?
Um, I have to say classical. I like jazz, but ever since I really discovered the full classical sound of saxophone, I've fell in love with it. But I like to be able to do both, but I just know I'm more proficient at classical, and I like it a little bit more.
Okay, so you like classical more than jazz.
hmm
Okay. Um, and how many years have you been playing about?
Um, I've been playing saxophone since I was in fifth grade, so it's about uh at at least 10 years, 10 to 11 years.
Okay. Good. So one thing that you want to recognize is that you have a really good story. Not that a car accident is meant to be, I'm not trying to slight the car accident because I'm sure it was rough, and I'm sure there are still things that are rough about it for you. At the same time, you have a really great that fits into your story. And one of the things that people love more than anything is a great story. So I want you to think about that as you're moving forward because I mean, seriously, some of the greatest people have come forward because they have a great story. They have a great story behind them. People fall in love with the story, they fall in love with the person. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, good. And did you have any? I know when you had your car accident. So how long were you, like in therapy or rehab or whatever? Are you still there? Kind of give us a little background on that.
Okay. The accident happened actually a week before band camp was supposed to start, so it was
Wow.
literally right as it I actually broke both of my hands and had a collapsed lung. Um, so I I I got out of the hospital later, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and I got out right before September, and by that time I only had one. I already had surgery on both my hands multiple times, so only my left hand was in the cast, but it was humongous cast. But
Sure.
at this point, and so I was in occupational therapy all the way until around mid to late October. So
Wow. Yeah, a long time. And then obviously the cast came off, and so now you're relearning how to use your hands. I'm sure.
yeah, I had to. It's the only time I really noticed it really become aware of how the accident changed my hands is really when I had when in my piano classes or in my class percussion class or when I took class percussion, just realizing that my wrist particularly on my left hand
Yeah.
isn't as flexible even with the therapy.
Sure.
And especially was my thumb because I broke it. I broke my left hand in two places as opposed to just one, and one was right at the base of my thumb.
Oh,
But
yeah, that's tough.
in regards to my saxophone playing, I've since I had a whole lot of nothing to do that semester, I really tried to get back at most of playing. And the only thing I noticed really is that sometimes, like my ring finger might be a little delayed depending on the certain notes I might play. For example, going from D sharp to F sharp, trying to do that in a fast passage. I had to really work on the coordination on that to compensate for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, I get that. Okay, good. So yeah, so I get it. So yeah, so there's like a long recovery for you, and I mean, there's even still, it didn't happen all that long ago. So if you really think about it, so you're still, you're still coming back from that in your own way. So okay, I get it, and probably also the mental part of it too. Like when you're in a car accident, you start to think of life a little differently. I'm sure, just like you said, you decided, gosh, I almost lost my life. What do I want to do with my life? A little bit, right?
Hmm.
Was that there for you?
Um, yes. It was really just having that whole semester. The first that whole semester where all my friends were off colleges all over the place, and I was just really alone, just
Yeah.
with myself, thinking of, okay, what was my purpose? I was about to go into school for physics or something because I just like didn't know, but.
Oh, so you were going to go into academics, and then after this happened, you said, "I'm going to go for music."
No, not particularly. I really didn't. I did not know what I wanted to do my senior year, because I was one of those kids who always got really good grades, always did this, but I didn't really know. I wasn't particularly drawn to anything, but I always
Mhm.
did band since I was in fourth grade. So
Okay.
I was like, maybe I could do this, and it's up to say, but I didn't really have a supportive household on it because of how good I was at academics. So I was really on my own
I see.
on that, and it affected my of course my college auditions because I would just try to find music or free music or cheap music online or look at the audition repertoire and try to go off of that, which led me to picking repertoire that was actually a bit way too hard for me at the time. If
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. So, because you didn't have a private lesson teacher, right?
no,
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so and that's interesting too because I come from a different background where my parents completely supported, um, you know, what I wanted. I mean, they completely supported me in every. I was a good student, but they were very supportive as far as music goes. So, I think it would be interesting to grow up like you did, where you had to sort of self-sustain it. You had to figure out how to get it, figure out how to be a musician, even though you didn't have the support. So that's another story too, by the way. There's a heavy story component to some things here that you have. I just want you to be aware of that, Isaiah. That I know that a lot of people go, well, why would a story matter? I'll tell you why. Because so many, what people are drawn to is the story of your life, the story of how you got where you got, because they can relate to it. They're relating it to their own life, to their own challenges, to the things they don't have, to the things they always wanted. Stories are a really big deal because of that. So I want you to realize that you have what I'm going to call parables. You can look up the word parable if you don't know what it is, but it's like a short story, and really great marketers, salespeople, whatever. They all have parables that they've created from their lives. They're not made up; they're actually something that happened, and you seem to have several. And so I just want you to keep that in mind as you're moving forward and deciding what you're going to do. It's not necessary for you to know exactly what you want to do right now, but you do need to pick a direction. So the question is, you're a music ed major right now. Where, like after college, it's not even what do you presume you want to do, but what are you thinking? Like, what are you drawn to right now? You're not far from graduating. So I'm interested because you're getting a music ed degree. That doesn't mean you have to go do music ed, but I'm just interested. What are you drawn to?
um, one thing I know, actually, one of my favorite things is playing in an ensemble, and that's, and I'm really thinking of. I know I always wanted to go to grad school. I always planned on it because I love studying. I, I love learning in that, and right now, as of now, I'm really more leaning towards going performance, but I also want to teach while performance, like maybe have a private studio. But I
Okay.
know I know ideally I would love to be an ensemble that play an ensemble that saxophones have. But I know one thing that just nature because saxophones, there's no orchestral jobs for that. There's military positions. There's not really saxophone ensembles going around the whole country that people just audition for.
No, you're right. And again, this is sort of, this is a really good conversation because what you're trying to do is fit what you want into what's already existing in the world. So you're looking in the world and going, there's no jobs for me, right? And that's what crushing classical is about. It's about, look, there's what if you set aside the idea of getting a job and actually created your own ensemble? So let's talk about the ensemble for a minute. By the way, as far as grad school goes, we can talk about that in a second, but I encourage you to try some things before you end up going into grad school. I know you love studying, but the truth is you can study on your own. I actually study a ton every day. I mean, if Tracy knew how much I read every day, she'd probably kill me. Seriously, I mean, the amount that I research every day is ridiculous. So, for real. So, let's talk about the ensemble, though. If you could, let's just say for a second, I know that this is a little out there, but let's say that you could create an ensemble and it had saxophone in it. What might it consist of as far as other instruments? Would it be only saxophone? Would there be other instruments? How many people? Kind of paint a picture for me of what you would love.
Um, well, uh, um, well, I think the ensemble will be, at least for now, a saxophone only ensemble. Um, probably have around 20 players, 20 members in ensemble. Um, most of it would be on alto. It'll be alto having the most because it's actually because the tone really fits well to having more an ensemble.
Yeah.
It's around uh sopranos, probably around five sopranos,
Okay.
more so five sopranos, probably eight-ish altos, four-ish altos, four tenors, four or five tenors, four barries, and then one person on bass saxophone. This is
You
what
said four tenors and what was the other one? Bass.
four barry saxes and one bass.
Four Barry, one bass. Okay, so let's see what that ends out eight. So that ends out to be 22, I think. Hold on. 8, 9, 10. That's 23. Just an FYI. So I think, wait, yeah, 8 altos, 5 sopranos, 4 tenors, 4 Barry, 1 bass. Does that seem like the right split for you?
Around that number. I just knew it was 20-ish. I didn't really have an exact
No,
number.
that's fine. That's fine. I was just playing. I just want you to look at it, right? So, okay, good. So, first of all, I love this idea. I think it's amazing. Now, tell me, because I immediately something came into my head, but I want to know. Okay, so if you had this group, what would you play?
Um, I would love to play probably primarily altos. That's my favorite of the saxophones. Of course, it's the one I've played the longest out of
Oh,
all of them.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Sorry, I didn't ask the question clearly. What music would this group play?
Oh, um, huh. That's a really good question.
Right, it is. And listen, and Tracy, are you getting any visions here? Because I am.
Well, I think you would have to make arrangements, you know?
I think it
You'd
would
have
be
to.
Yes, I think it would be amazing. You know what I'm really seeing right now? You know that do you know that singing group Pentatonics?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a huge fan of Pentatonics, but there's other a cappella groups, but you guys could be like you guys could be I mean, you have to think about this for a second. And by the way, everyone who's listening right now, keep your minds open when I say things, because I'm about to say the word Kenny G. Okay, and a lot of people seriously, and a lot of people get really hacked off when because what are you talking about? He's not a classical musician. He's this and he's that. And the thing is, guys, he's made millions, and you should shut your mouth. Okay, because clearly the guy he knows what he's doing. Okay, the guy is not stupid. Okay, so here's the thing: what people love saxophone, and Kenny G proved it. People love
Yeah.
saxophone. This is what you got to get about it. Kenny G is not the best saxophone player, and I don't give a shit how great of a saxophone player he is. The point is that he brought saxophone to the mainstream when it never would have been there, except in jazz. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been there. So I want you to think for a minute, if the audience already loves saxophone and you love and a saxophone ensemble, when done very well, he proved that a saxophone can sound like a voice. He really did. Again, not the greatest saxophone player in the world. It's not about that. It's that he made the saxophone into something so much more than a saxophone. And that's what you can do with a group. I think, you guys could get arrangements written for you. You could write arrangements for this. Like any number of things. You could take popular songs. You could take, Pentatonics has done this very well. I don't know who does all their arranging, but there is no doubt in my mind that you guys could do an a cappella sax group. You could even add in, you've got the Barry sax in here. You've got the bass. I mean, you've got all the voices available, if you will. All the voices are available in the saxophone. So that's part of what I'm seeing here is that possibility. Tracy, do you have anything you want to suggest or add to that?
Yeah, well, the only thing I was thinking is what would that be like if you started with just one of each instrument first and just played around with it
Totally
and
agree.
you
Totally
know,
agree. Yes, love it. Love it.
yeah, because you don't have to go for like 23 people. That bogs everything down. Like you have to find all these people and everything. First, just start with that would be a quintet, right? Soprano, alto, tenor, bass,
There,
baritone, and bass.
yeah, that's right. Yep.
And I love the correlation between pentatonics because it's I think Eileen always says this too. It's you never should try and reinvent the wheel, right? Like there's these people doing this on voice. Why not do it on saxophone? And you could even cover some of their tunes that are covers from other places. Like there's so many connections you can make. People love to hear music that they already know, but on a different instrument combination. You know.
100%. And in fact, that's a great idea. I love your idea, Tracy. The other thing that's great about this is you could probably get some of those arrangements. I think they're probably printed. You could probably buy those arrangements and you could play them on sax.
Right.
I mean, you could literally take what has already been written for pentatonics and put it on sax. I can't. Now, I'm sure that there are some limitations of the instrument. I don't know what they are. I don't play sax, but you get what I'm saying, right? There's definitely. I mean, this is extremely like there's no question in my mind this would be marketable because we have proof. There's evidence from the past how marketable it is. Pentatonics and Kenny G both.
Right. And Isaiah, you said something about that you love classical music, and really the only classical repertoire that has saxophone, there's very few of them. There's like Prokofiev, Romeo and Juliet, and there's pictures at an exhibition, and that's really the only two pieces I can think of off the top of my head that have saxophone in the orchestra, besides when we've played pops concerts with a big band mixed in. So, but the cool thing is that if you had your own ensemble, you could make arrangements of any classical music you want.
That's right. And here's the cool thing too is you could start this, you're a junior right now. You could start this. Actually, are you walking into your junior year, Isaiah?
No, I'm
Walking
halfway.
senior?
I I'll be a senior after summer classes.
Okay, got it. So you'll be a senior. So you've got a whole year to play around with this idea. I really encourage you to do this because, and you can let us know what you think of it in a second. But I encourage you to go this direction. I'll tell you why. You can go into a master's degree, but I'm going to tell you that studying more is not going to help you figure out what's next for you. It's just not. I'm 42 years old, and I'm trying to lay a little bit of wisdom on you. You never feel smart enough. You never feel like I'm just saying, man. I mean, Tracy,
Sure.
I know you can.
Yeah.
You never feel smart enough. You never feel like you know enough. You never feel ready. I mean, even at 42, I don't most of the time feel ready. I really don't. And I have to push things forward, even as uncomfortable as it is. And it's still uncomfortable at 42. Still. And Tracy, you can say whatever you want to say about. I mean, and
Right.
you have your own thing about grad school, and I'd like you to speak if you don't mind on that.
Yeah, well, first of all, grad school in music is basically more of undergrad, except for they just call it grad school. And it costs more. So if you already kind of are in a direction of, I like this thing, I like that thing, I kind of like a little bit of this or that, you're going to keep doing that for 2 more years in grad school, and you're just going to have debt, but you'll be in the same exact place that you are right now.
Still wondering what to do. Like, still wondering what you're going
Uh-huh.
to do next. I mean, I think even you were there, Tracy, weren't you? I don't think.
Yeah, I went to grad school, and I knew that I wanted to audition for orchestras, but after grad school, I was in the same position that I was after undergrad. Just I want to take auditions. I was happy that I had studied with the person I wanted to study with, but I've talked a lot about that on different episodes. That I really think I could have gotten more creative in my studying just for private lessons outside of school. It would have saved me a lot of money, to do that
Yeah,
and
totally.
time.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to get ready for playing. So just think about that about grad school. But for now, tell us kind of what you're thinking, based on everything we said about the sax ensemble, which I love the idea of. Again, I think it's a great I love that you wanted to do an ensemble. I think it's awesome. I love it when people want to do that. So tell me your thoughts so far. What are you thinking?
I've been loving everything I've been hearing. Just the whole time, the reason I've been so silent, just been taking it all in. Also, just thinking of um, all the different ideas too. Like I know because I know everyone. I even noticed that whenever we have our chamber concerts, that people, the audience, will just tend to light up whatever time saxophones would go on. We would go on stage to play
Absolutely.
something.
Yep.
Um,
You can thank Kenny G for that one. Just saying. I'm just saying, like, nobody wants to, like, everybody wants to, kill like a rifle at Kenny G. But the thing is, the dude did good things. He did.
He did.
He did. Seriously, he paved the way. It's just like Benny Goodman paved the way for clarinet players. Let's be honest.
Right.
Come on. I mean, nobody's paved the way yet for flute. Do you know of anybody? I don't.
Well, what about that? No, wasn't there a fancy flute guy with like diamonds on his flute or something? Am I
Uh,
thinking Am I thinking of the piano guy, Liberace? No,
yeah,
no, no, no. There's a flute player guy who's sort of like the Liberace of flute. I can't remember his name.
yeah. It was from a long time ago, right? I forgot his name.
Yeah.
I know who you're
It starts
talking
with isn't it like a G, like Gaffigan, or I don't know. I have to look this up now.
about. Yeah,
It's
no,
gonna
no.
drive me
No,
crazy.
it's gonna. But yeah, Isaiah, do you know who we're talking about? The flute guy?
I feel like I should. I feel like I've heard the name before,
I
but
know. So Tracy, you got to look him up. Seriously, the most famous
Okay,
flute player.
I'm literally I'm going to like Google Liberace of
Okay, do it.
flute.
You have to do it.
all my.
So,
See what comes up.
but
I
yeah,
feel
so
like all
that
my flute brothers are
yeah,
disappointed.
exactly. So that's the thing though, is you gotta, I mean, seriously, you gotta pay homage to the people who've come before you and made it possible. And I think Kenny G has made it possible for every saxophone player to create anything they want. Everybody loves the saxophone. It's a great instrument, let's be honest. And it doesn't have to just be played in jazz. It doesn't have to be just a jazz instrument. That's what's so great about it.
James Galloway.
There it is. Boom. James Gow.
Oh,
You're so good, man. You knew it was a G. Good job.
yeah, I don't. That's how I remember stuff for some reason.
Good job. So yeah, okay. So somebody paved the way for flute. I was wrong, but you got to think. But you got to think about: has anyone paved the way for horn yet?
Well,
Not mainstream. I mean mainstream. We're talking mainstream.
no, not like super duper mainstream. I'd say Canadian brass is the closest to doing
Yes,
that for brass.
totally agree.
You know?
Canadian brass
I,
all the way. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
well,
Yeah.
I was thinking, at least in regards to horn, I think film scores have really helped because horns are so prevalent in them,
100%.
especially,
Yeah,
Oh
especially
yeah,
in
for
super
sure.
movies.
we can pay homage to John Williams for that. Let's be clear.
Oh, totally,
I mean,
totally, 100%.
right? But I'm just saying, like don't be a hater. Like everyone who's listening on this call, like you can be a hater about flute players, whatever, whoever came before you because they're millionaires and this and that, and they're not playing the music as it's meant to be played, and they're not playing the instrument as it's meant to be played. But what you don't realize is you should check yourself and you should pay homage to people, seriously, who have come before you and done great things and made it possible for you to even be heard. Because that's what Kenny G did. That's what James
Yep.
Gallo did. So Isaiah, I love that you love this idea. So one thing you can do, I want you to. So one of the things when someone comes up with an idea like this, I know you're sort of soaking it in. I'm not expecting you to know what to do next, so I'm going to tell you what to do next if you want to actually execute on this. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. So there are people. Where do you live you're in North Carolina. Where do you live in North Carolina?
I live in Spring Lake, which is right outside Fort Bragg.
Okay. So first of all, there's lots of schools in North Carolina, obviously. And there are probably several saxophone players who would love to come in with you and do this ensemble. So the first thing, honestly, if I wanted to do an ensemble, the first thing I would do is go searching for my ensemble. So like you're going to play alto, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if there's going to be one alto, then you're it. And then you need a soprano, a tenor, a bari, and a bass. So your job before the start of the school year, I mean, sooner than later, certainly, would be to find those 4 people. You
All
absolutely
right.
can do it. Now, you can use Facebook, you can use Twitter. There's any number of things that there's any number of avenues you can use. I want to remind you that you have a resource that Tracy and I did not have when we were in school. It's social media. So, for example, you'll notice whenever Tracy posts on Crushing Classical on like Instagram or Facebook or whatever, she's always using hashtags. She's very good at using hashtags. It's how people have found Crushing Classical. So your hashtags, you have to be appropriate. You know, your hashtags would be like hashtag saxophone, hashtag Barry Sax, whatever. You can look up and see what the different hashtags are. But you can use social media to find your members inside of North Carolina. You can certainly do it. You can also call schools and talk to, like, call universities and talk to music directors or saxophone teachers in the area. These are all resources you can tap into and say, hey, you know, I am starting an ensemble. It's a 5-piece ensemble. It's a saxophone ensemble. It's going to be, we're going to have arrangements done, pentatonics like deal. I need a soprano, a tenor, a barry, and a bass. Who do you know that you can connect me with? This is going to be a social media / conversation type of a thing. The only way that you can create an ensemble is to actually create the ensemble. And ideally, you would create an ensemble that is, inside the state of North Carolina. Maybe you guys can meet all in a central location. You don't necessarily have to all live in the same place, but within driving distance of a location where you guys can play together. Don't worry about the location. Just worry about creating the group first. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going.
All right. Sounds.
Do you have questions about that?
Um. No, still soaking it in.
Okay. Right. And listen, this is the thing. The hardest part of starting something new, and Tracy and I can attest to this,
Yes.
is just starting.
Yep.
It's just getting started. It is the hardest thing to do. And Tracy, if you want to say anything about that, feel free.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just making that first move. And once you decide to do something, just go and do it. Just pull the trigger and go. Like, you can spend a lot of time going, hemming and hawing about this or that, if it's perfect enough or whatever. But you definitely, just starting is the key. When I started this podcast, the first step was just proclaiming that I had a podcast and getting guests. That was it. I didn't even know how to produce a podcast. I didn't know how I was going to record a podcast, nothing. But the first step was just saying I have a podcast. So that would probably be your very first step. I have a saxophone ensemble.
Yeah.
I need players for
That's
it.
right.
And then you were talking about your story. Eileen was bringing in your story, and I don't want to put too much information out there yet, but check out the last fireside chat we did about Facebook.
Yes.
And social media, because what you're going to want to do now is document the creation of your group.
Oh man, that's a great idea. That's a great idea, Tracy.
Yeah, because you don't want to wait until the group is already, you're not going to, this isn't something you're going to do in the privacy of your practice room and get everything perfect before you launch it into the world where nobody knows who you are yet. You start building it now. You start talking about what you're building, and sharing every step of the way by documenting how you're doing it, what you're doing it. Share everything on social media. Get yourself an Instagram account. Make sure you have a Facebook profile page, or sorry, not a profile. You already have that. Get a page, a public figure page, and put yourself on there as the saxophone player that you are and your group, and talk about it. And that's it. You just start documenting.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. People will totally get behind what you're up to. When it's so funny, people never necessarily want to live their lives. They would rather live vicariously through your life. That's kind of what, seriously, that's what social media is. And so, like, there are things people won't dare to do, but they will do anything to help you do what you want to do. So if you were to post and say, I'm still looking for a tenor, looking for a magical tenor player for my sax ensemble, where is he? Where is she? You know, um, people will write in. People will go, I heard about this guy and he's this and he wants to do an ensemble and he would be great. People will connect you. People will connect you. So you really have to be willing to be public about it. If you really want to create an ensemble, you have to be, believe it or not, you actually have to be public about it. This can't be a secret. It actually has to be public. If you want to do this, let crowdsource your sax players. I mean, it's really what I'm saying,
Right.
because everybody wants to help you get what you want. Even if they won't help themselves, they damn well want to help you.
Yeah.
They really do. So, Isaiah, do you have questions about that?
At least more just at least in regard to just when trying to find people.
Yeah.
Would you also suggest like look around just my university for just even though this would this be more of a project to go outside the
You can
school?
definitely, yeah. I mean, you can definitely look around your university. So let's do that now. First of all, are there any players who are at the level, like just imagine, and I don't know what your music is going to end up being. So let's just say you're going for the pentatonics type of sound and skill. But let's just use those two words, sound and skill. I think that's what pentatonics does very well. They have a beautiful sound and they have there's a lot of skill in that group. And I think they've only gotten better. So is there anyone right now, sax players, who are at the level at which that would work for you?
Yes. I know a few.
Okay, so do you know which ones do you know? There's soprano, tenor, bari, and bass that you have to fill. One of each.
Um, I have to ask like which one they primarily play. At least that they play in a quartet. I just know that a few of them they switch around depending on the quartet they're in or the ensemble. So.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And if you can find people close to you that you like working with, that's good. And also take into consideration people who have multiple talents. Like if someone's really good at arranging or somebody,
Yes.
You want to have people, if you can find people who can do multiple things. I mean, take pentatonics, for example. Look at their, one of their singers happens to be a cellist and he beatboxes on the cello. Like he's, what's his name?
I forgot.
K.O.
Yeah, K.O.
His name is K.O.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing, you know? And so just seeking out people who can do multiple things, who can bring more to the table than just a saxophone. Not that just playing saxophone is not enough, but if you find, a gold mine of somebody who can also do arranging, then that solves another problem for you.
Totally. And also, there will be people in your school, I'll bet, who love to arrange. It's funny. My brother loves to arrange music. I didn't actually know this. He does like kids theater, like children's theater, local theater, community theater, and they do musicals and they do plays, mostly musicals. But and he also he leads a music group. It's called Just the Guys. And he's the music director, and he does a lot of the arranging. Actually, he goes out and looks for arrangements that are written. Tracy, I don't even know if you know this.
No.
He goes out on the internet on YouTube, and he I'm serious, like exhaustive search for arrangements that he loves, and he goes, "Oh my God, I have to have that!" And then he gets the music somehow. I don't know how he goes about that. He gets the music, and then he rewrites it. He like messes with it so it works for voice. He loves doing this. Nice. He does it all the time. Yeah. And he's done some beautiful arrangements because of that. And so someone who loves to do that, that's another kind of person. That's someone who's willing to go out and do that research and find. Some people just love to immerse themselves in that sort of, because when you get a beautiful arrangement and then you put it with a group that's amazing, it just explodes. People just love it. you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I bring that up because that's another kind of skill. It's another skill set that is incredibly valuable and is very much needed for a group to win. A group in itself is great, but a group with great arrangements can skyrocket. It's the arrangements that make the group great.
Yep.
And I think musicians forget that all the time. It's not enough to be great on your instrument. It's just not. Paired with music that people love, want to hear, fall in love with, great arrangements, that's the, if pentatonics has proved anything, it's that you fall in love with all the entire package. It's not just one part of the package that people fall in love with, you know?
It's totally true, because you think about it, they're not the only a cappella group out
No,
there, but they're the one that stands out
they're
for a
the only
variety of reasons.
they're the only ones that became mainstream, and that's not an accident. It wasn't because they were great singers either. It's because of the arrangements. I mean, that's why it happened.
Yeah, right.
And people, how many people have tried to bring a cappella mainstream? Do you have any idea how many times that has been tried? And they
So
have
many. Well, Manhattan Transfer kind of did it, in
yeah,
the 70s and 80s,
they did, they
But
did.
then yeah,
But I mean, they're it
but then they
though.
were done.
Yeah, they're really it. I mean, there's been what was the other one, like Take Six or something? Remember that group?
Mm-hmm.
I think there was like
Take
Take
Six.
Six. Yeah. So there've only
Right.
been a few. Like you can really only on one hand count the number that have made it to the mainstream. And that's what I'm saying is a group in itself doesn't get to and why does it matter if you go to the mainstream? Like you might wonder. I'll tell you why. It's called money. That's why. It's called career. It's called livelihood. I'm serious. I mean, like if you want an ensemble that's going to pay your bills, you have to think bigger than, well, we just want to play at weddings. Playing at weddings is fine, but that's not, I'm just saying, right? It's not going to solve, it's, Tracy's laughing.
I just laugh at your voice, though, that you're
Yeah,
little.
I know. I know.
I just want to play at weddings.
Weddings. But, seriously, like you have to think about it. Part of this is I really like musicians to think bigger. You actually can become and be anything you want to be, but you have to be willing to think that big. And I know you're like, well, I'm in college right now, and that's, I'm just starting out. And I encourage you to give up that thought because just because you're in college right now, that doesn't mean anything. You can create anything you want. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 10 years old. You can create anything you want. For real.
I agree.
Your age is not a factor in my opinion at all. Like I could care less how young you are. I could care less how inexperienced you are. I could care less if you're the best saxophone player in the world. I don't care. That has nothing to do with being successful. It really has nothing to do with it. There's so much more to success than how well you play. It's and Kenny G, let's be honest, the man proved it. He proved it. I mean, seriously, he's not the best sax player. He's not. But he learned how to capitalize on something else that he knew how to do. Like, you should go read his story. He's got a really great story. So, Isaiah, does that sort of give you a push off into the world to figure out what's next?
Definitely.
Good. I know you're a
And
little.
Isaiah,
It's okay.
I don't know if you know this, but Branford Marcellus lives in North Carolina. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm. Actually,
Dude,
met
I
him,
didn't know that.
earlier. Met him earlier this year.
Oh,
When
great.
I was at a Gen conference in New Orleans. Early, and I met him within the first 5 minutes of walking into the convention hotel.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, he's a great guy, and not to say that just because he lives here, he's here all the time, because he's all over the place. It's funny that you didn't meet him in North Carolina, but it's just like you're living in a state where there's a lot of really great resources.
Totally. I would think playing sax in North Carolina, that's like one of the best places you could play it. I don't know why. I think of it as a place where you would not have any trouble finding. I mean, it's a state with a lot of schools, a lot of resources. It's a great state,
Yeah.
You're not out in the middle of nowhere. That's one of the best parts about where you live, I think. I think North Carolina is there's so much they have to offer there. Great cities,
Yeah.
lots. So, So anyway, I encourage you to move forward on this idea rather than immersing yourself in more school. There's plenty of time to study, I promise you. You
School
can,
will always be there and they will always be ready to take your money.
they'll be happy to take your money anytime. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, really, it's just the degree. I'll tell you what the degree will do is if you decide you want to become a university professor, then obviously you have to get a doctorate. But if that's not the way you're going to go, and listen, I encourage you not to play it safe here. You got one life. That's it. You got one life, as far as we know. So maybe there's other lives, but the only one we know about is this one. So I encourage you strongly to live the life you want to live, not the one you think you can have. There's a big difference between those two.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Isaiah, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. He's over there having a heart attack. Oh my God.
Isaiah, will you keep us posted about what's going on? And
Oh yeah.
we have had people come back on a hot seat again to fill us in on what they're doing, and it's always really fun to have people on again.
Yeah.
We had Andrew come on, and he didn't know what to do, and I think he kind of felt like you feel now, like, whoa, overwhelmed, and then we're like, hey, listen, make a decision and come back on and let us know, and then we'll go from there. So keep in touch with us and tell us what's going on, and maybe in the future, if you want to get back on here, that'd be great.
I mean, if you take a few steps, that's the whole thing. Take some steps forward, move the needle. Let's put it that way. Move the needle forward. And then, if you get stuck or like, I have this problem or whatever, tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, let's do another hot seat and we'll talk you through it. Remember that, and I'll say this to everybody, you have to build it by yourself, but you can't do it alone. It's really important that you remember that. You have to do it by yourself, but you can't do it alone. There's a big difference between those two things. So in other words, your initiative has to move it forward, but you cannot execute. Your dream is fulfilled with the help of other people.
Yes.
Okay. So just remember that. And we would love to hear from you and let you know, and for you to let us know, for you to let us know how it's going. We're genuinely interested in where you go from here, especially if you decide to build your own ensemble, which I just love it that you want to do that.
Well, cool. Oh, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I know we overwhelmed you, so go take a nap. You know how many people tell me that? Seriously, you know how many people tell me that? They're like, I'm done. I gotta go take a nap. A lot of people told me that for real on calls for real. It's happened. So
really, oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I gotta go take a nap. It's exhausting though to confront your future. It is.
It is.
It's exhausting to think about going. There's an exhaustion factor to it. Let's be honest. So don't feel bad about it. It's human. It's totally human. So. Guys, thank you so much for for being here and for Tracy for setting up this hot seat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Isaiah, for coming on.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Thanks. Awesome. And if you're enjoying the hot seats, if you're enjoying Crushing Classical, please write a review on iTunes and join us on the conversation at facebook.com/Crushing Classical, Instagram at Crushing Classical, and Twitter at Crush Classical. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.